Yeah, so thanks everyone. Welcome. And what we're going to be talking about here today and kind of going through is a little bit more hands-on than we've been talking about before. We're going to be going through a workshop that we've developed. This is something that you can do on your own. You can go through this anytime you'd like. It's a self-service workshop. We're just going to kind of go through the basics of what the Amazon Chime SDK can do for you, and go through the workshop. And then we're going to see some of those demos in real time. So this is gonna be an exciting one because we're gonna do live demos. So I hope everybody's ready for some issues there. Let's see. So as we talked about before, we do have two options for enabling AI and ML within your contact center. We have the AWS CCI solution, which is kind of a suite, like Chris was saying, of different services that you can build together. So this is definitely the builder-focused solution. You can add pieces and parts as needed. You can expand this. We also have Amazon Connect, which is more of an off-the-shelf offering. So, build your contact center in the cloud type of thing. There's the other session is going on for that now. So if you want to hop over to that, they're going to be talking about Connect. We're going to be talking about how you can build this yourself with AWS services. So let's take a look at the quick agenda. So we're going to be talking about Amazon Chime SDK call analytics here today. That's going to be our main focus and what we can do with that, how it works, and then go into some of the use cases for using that, how we can take this and apply this for your existing contact center. So that's kind of the key here is if you have a contact center via Cisco, Genesys, kind of you name it, on-prem or in the cloud contact center, we can use Amazon Chime SDK call analytics to enhance that contact center with things like transcriptions and recordings and sentiment analysis and all that other good stuff. Once we've got that, then we can actually add in the AI, the generative AI to do things like summarization, next best actions, and things like that. So you've got a contact center that you're not getting rid of. We can still help provide AI ML to that. So we have Amazon Call Analytics powered by Amazon Chime SDK and Amazon Transcribe. Good partners with the Transcribe team. They're helping power a lot of this stuff. We're enabling. Our goal here is to make it easy to use Transcribe. That's kind of our how we fit into this. So what are we going to do with that? We're going to extract insights from that audio, where we can generate alerts and trigger actions. So if somebody is saying specific words or saying, the sentiment has gone, so far for so long, we can use these other AWS services like SNS, the simple notification service, in order to trigger actions. Maybe we send a notification to a supervisor. Maybe we, get 5 of those, and now we're going to escalate it all the way up, another level. So we can customize these alerts and customize these settings within there just because you're getting to build this. We can also do recordings, and so this is a place I like to start with, right? Or the first the best time to start recording is a year ago. The second best time to start recording is now, because with those recordings and with all that information that you can get from those recordings, you can use it to power more things. So, for instance, we talk about Lex and building an IVR. Well, what's a good way to build an IVR is to know what your customers are actually asking about. So if you have agents sitting there and they're getting calls and they're answering the same question over and over again, that's something that we can push out to Lex. But without the recordings, without the transcriptions, we don't know exactly what customers are asking for. So we don't know how to build that Lex bot for them. And so with these recordings, we can start to craft those Lex bots to get the intents so that we can accurately predict what customers are going to call in for and what customers are going to say and ask about so that we can provide those. So, even if you don't know exactly what you're going to use this stuff for, getting that recording set up and going and collecting that data is a really good way to get started with AI and ML. Maybe you're not going to use it today. Maybe you're going to use it in 3 months, but in 3 months, you're going to be glad that you have that data. Speaking of data, we're going to take all of this and we're going to push it into a data lake. So we can push the transcriptions, we can push the uh, the the CDRs, the call detail records, into this data lake. We can push the sentiment into the data lake, and that makes it easy for your business people to be able to query that. When are people calling? What are they calling about? Those types of things. And we can build all that into a QuickSight dashboard so that you've got access to be able to see what it is that people are calling about without having to know, ins and outs of AWS and even sometimes SQL. So we can put all that information into a dashboard for you, put it into a place, a data lake that can be accessed by that QuickSight dashboard. So how do we get this information from you? So how do we take your existing contact center? How do we take your existing on-prem solution that's working fine today and get that information into AWS, get that information into the cloud? We have two basic options for this. We have SIPREC. So we have the ability to take in from your on-prem service, from your on-prem telephony, fork the media from that, and we just kind of passively consume that media. So when calls are happening, you're just sending that an extra leg of that media out to us, and we can pull that in, we can consume that, and we can provide information about that RTP stream. Most telephony systems support this today. Um, if not, we've got a couple other options and ideas for how to get that in. It takes a little bit more work. This is really easy. If your system supports SIPREC, would highly recommend going with this because it's doesn't disrupt your existing telephony very much. It's pretty easy to add onto, and it's kind of like that passive, like it's an add-on service rather than coming in and replacing a bunch of stuff. We do support PSTN offering. So if you don't want to do that, or if you want to port numbers to us, we also support things like that. So if we you know if you don't support SIPREC or something like that, we also have another option here. All right. So now that we know how to get that information into us and let us consume that, what can we do with that? Well, we've got three main features for this. We have Amazon Transcribe, Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics, and then our own sort of in-house Amazon Chime SDK created voice analytics. So transcribe is pretty straightforward. It's going to produce a transcription of the call in uh, near real time. So it's going to be populating that in a stream. We also have the call analytics, which is going to be kind of an enhanced version of that. We know that it's a phone call, so we were able to do things like sound detections and loudness and things like that that are available with the Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics. We also have a third option, which is our voice analytics, which is going to be able to let us do things like do speaker search and voice tone analysis. So typically, if you wanted to do a sentiment analysis before, before we release this feature, what you would do is you would take the transcription and you would turn that transcription into and use comprehend, something like Amazon Comprehend, in order to get the sentiment of that. Well, that's just looking at the text of the words. So if I say I'm having a bad day, that means the comprehend is going to interpret that as a negative score, which is typically correct. But you can also say sort of negative sounding words in a positive way, in which case the voice tone analysis will score that higher. So it's going to score it as more positive because it's not looking at the words that are being spoken so much as it is listening to the tone of the way that's being said. So if I'm happy and I'm saying negative words, it's going to score that as positive more than negative because of the way we can do that. This is an in-house solution, so we're able to apply this to anything that's using the Amazon Chime SDK call analytics. We also have the ability to do a speaker search. So this is not really auth. We don't want to kind of frame it that way, but we do want it to supplement the way that you ingress this information into your system. So it doesn't depend on sort of a my voice is my passport sort of phrase or anything like that, but it will collect 20 seconds of audio from somebody speaking. It will generate a voice profile of that person, And then the next time that they call in, they can search for that voice profile as somebody is speaking. And it takes about 10 seconds of audio at that time in order to produce a score and say, we're 75% sure it's this person, or provide a list of people that it thinks it might be with a confidence score associated with that. So these are types of things that we can add on to. This is the processors that we have for Amazon Chime SDK call analytics. So where do we send all this information? So we've captured all this information, we've brought it all in, we're processing it, we're doing things with it. What we can do with it is send these out. So now we're gonna output this traffic. We're gonna put it somewhere. The most basic one, as we said before, recording, really kind of a foundational piece of call analytics is to just get that recording into a bucket. So we're going to put this into an S3 bucket as either a WAV file or an Opus file, and we're going to be able to store that. So now you get all the benefits of having something in S3. You can set up your policy, your profiles in order to kind of store it in Glacier for longer term if you don't need it, but also keep it there for when you do need it to go reviewed. Maybe you've got 30 days worth of reviews that are quick and easy, and then after that, we push it down into sort of a more long-term storage, but we can still keep it. We can also do things, and we're going to see this in the demo later, where we take the output, or we take the file that is put into that S3 bucket, and we're going to manipulate it. So we're going to run it through transcribe, and using pretty standard AWS practices of when an object is created in a bucket, let's do something with it. That's an easy trigger that we can build off of. So it's kind of a base level of what we can do with this data. The next piece, and you're going to see a pattern here where we're going to be outputting this stuff into kind of three typical places: SNS, SQS, and then Amazon Kinesis data streams. And the idea here is that we want to get you the data in a way that's easy to consume. So we're going to produce a Kinesis data stream with the information that's being sent out. So when we have things like transcribe and we need to get you that information so that you can do something with that information, we're going to put that on a Kinesis data stream. The notifications and things like that are tend to be sent to the SNS and SQS rather than the Kinesis data stream. But the Kinesis data stream is where that information is going to be outputted. So we're going to say, here is a stream of all of the transcriptions that are going on. You consume that stream and pull the information off of that. And if you've ever worked with Kinesis data streams, it's really easy to work with. They come, in your real time, and you can kind of read off of that stream fairly easily. It's a good place to pull information. Again, as we see with the voice analytics, we had an additional Lambda as an option on here, and we're going to see how to use that in the workshop here. This is because with voice analytics, we have some more legal constraints that you'll have to satisfy of, making sure that people know that they're being recorded, making sure that people know that, this voice is being analyzed in that way. So that's why we've got the extra one for here. So let's get into the workshop. This is going to be a little more, this is mostly hands-on for me, not so much hands-on for you, but we're going to go through and kind of go through and see what it takes in order to add these features into your existing contact center. All right, so we have, this is the using Amazon Chime SDK call analytics workshop. And again, this is something that you can do. We're going to be going through, I've already deployed the CloudFormation, so we're not going to kind of go through that. But I kind of want to walk you through what this workshop is going to do to kind of give you a leg up on it if you want to do that yourself. So this is what we're going to be building. So the CloudFormation is going to deploy a lot of this for you. This is kind of pre-built and already ready to go for you, so you don't have to kind of do a lot of the work yourself. We're just going to let you do the kind of the fun pieces where we're doing the configuration and then see it in action. So what we've got here is the main components that we're going to be building. So first off, we're going to be building a voice connector. And from there, we're going to be attaching a phone number to it, and we're going to make a quick test call. So let's go ahead and get that set up. So we have our stack here. Let's see if I can pull that up to show you what that looks like. I have a lot of stacks, so you can see what these look like. So this is the stack that it deployed. You can see that there's kind of two substacks within here. We have streamer stack and a server stack. The streamer stack includes things like the WebSockets and the Kinesis data streams and things like that that we're going to use. And then the server stack is sort of we're going to use an asterisk server in order to make these phone calls. And so we have that's going to answer them. We also have a little web page that we're going to see. So we can see some of that here where we've got the distribution URL, we have an elastic IP, and these are what we're going to use for the rest of it. So the next step here, and you can see this is kind of what we're going to be building out with the CloudFormation. So we're going to start building out from here. We don't need this just yet. This is the thing. Here we go. So first up, we're going to order a phone number. Now, I've already done this because I had pre-built this for us. But we're going to go here. We're going to go to phone number management, and you can see these different phone numbers that I have. We can order a new phone number just right here. So we're going to order a voice connector phone number in the US, and we're going to make a toll-free. We're going to try to get an 855 number. Oh, that's good. It's a good thing I pre-provisioned this then, because that would have been a little awkward. So we can see that I have an 855 number here, and this number is going to be used as part of this demo. So next up, and we're going to go through here, we're going to create a voice connector. So within the console, we're going to go through, we're going to create a voice connector. Again, I already created this, fortunately, and we're going to assign that phone number here. So this is the phone number that we're going to be working with. Let me give it a test call just to make sure that everything's working there. It'd be quite unfortunate if it wasn't. And that's just a recording. So we've got an audio file on the Asterisk server that's going to be just playing back to us, and we'll be able to kind of simulate a call with that. That's a good sign. We have successfully made a phone call to our demo, and yeah, we've got that built and configured. So the way that the voice connector works is we have this IP address that we're going to be sending and receiving calls to, and this is all configured just within the console. For a SIPREC service, you would build it slightly differently. So in a SIPREC environment, you would not need this origination. You would only need the termination piece of this, and that's okay, because it's still able to take in those calls. We just need to know where those calls are coming from. We don't have encryption enabled, but we do support TLS and SRTP for these calls. It is a public IP address that we're using, so we definitely want you to use encryption when you're setting up these for your SIPREC services. And we have guides and descriptions about what you need to configure on your PBX and your SBC. Well, we've got a lot of experience. We have partners that can help with getting that SIPREC set up through your firewalls, through your networking, through your SBCs, and get that configured for you. So we now have a voice connector set up within within our environment. We have it hooked up into our Asterisk PBX, so we can make a phone call to that. And now we performed a test call. Great. We've successfully made a call into this phone number, and we can get that audio. So we've got two-way audio going between my cell phone and this Asterisk box, and we can listen to that now. So far so good. Mark, Zip, any on any of that?
No additional questions if that's what you're asking. Sorry.
Okay, great. So now that we've got our telephony set up and we've got a phone call going into the PBX, we're going to add into that with our services. So this is where we're going to add into the call analytics. So we've got let's see here. We've got a little URL right here, just a CloudFront site, and we are connected. So again, very, very simple. We're just trying to show you how this works and what you can do with it. So next time, we're going to enhance this by adding into it transcribe. So first up, let's get transcribe added to this call. So we're going to go in and we're going to configure it's called a configuration, and that's part of the call analytics piece. So we're going to go in and we're going to add into this call analytics. So you can see here, I'm going to just walk you through this because I've been through this before a couple times, and just walk you through what it takes to add transcribe to this. So we have our voice connector. We're going to go down here into call analytics. And what are we going to call this? We're going to call this call analytics workshop. We're going to go and we're going to create a configuration. And that name is going to be call analytics workshop. Right now, we're not going to activate recording. We'll add that later, but so we'll skip this for now. We'll go to next. We do want transcribe. So we're interested in getting a real-time transcription of this call. We're going to set this for English because that's what our WAV file is that we're going to play back. So we want to keep that as constant. We need to add in a Kinesis data stream. So we're going to give it a target of this using Amazon Chime SDK call analytics workshop stream. And now we're going, what this is doing is this is tying together all those different parts and pieces. So we're going to create a new service. And this new service is going to be called Transcribe Workshop. This is going to set up all the permissions that we need for this, which is really, really handy because some of these permissions are a little tricky, but this will do that for us. We're not going to activate real-time alerts at this time. You can see what those look like here. So you can see some of the key phrases or keywords that you're going to match on. We're not going to do that now. And we have now created a configuration as part of this workshop. Hopefully this comes back in a second. There we go. We have a call analytics workshop. Now, you could leave it at this point and you could manually sort of programmatically invoke this configuration, but we can take it a step further and we can actually automatically trigger this configuration. So anytime a call comes in on a particular voice connector, we can trigger this configuration. So we're going to go back to our voice connector. We're going to go to workshop call analytics, and we're going to set up the streaming. So again, I'd already set up some of this stuff, so it's not all there, but we're going to stream to Kinesis video streams. And this is sort of the back end, the guts of how we do this manipulation. We're going to send notification to EventBridge. We're going to retain the data for a day, and then we're going to activate call analytics. And this time we're going to select our call analytics workshop. So now what we've done when we save this is we've tied together that configuration and this voice connector. So these two are sort of linked together, and you can see here the call analytics configuration that we have, and so now these two are tied together. So let's go back and let's make a phone call, and this time we're gonna talk to it. We're gonna try and get that transcription coming out of here, and then we'll once I'm done with that, we'll take a look at what the messages actually say. Hi, I was just testing out my voice connector, and I wanted to make sure that the transcription was coming through, and hopefully it is coming through. It is not coming through just yet. So there we go. Not coming through just yet. We're gonna give that a second. Sometimes it takes a minute to work its way through the system. Let me give that a try again. Yeah, I was calling to test out the transcription in SDK call analytics. Whew, I was getting nervous there for a second, but it does look like we are getting transcription. And so you can see the speed that this is coming in. This is coming in near real time. So we're able to get that transcription to the agent, to the person that needs it very quickly. A little nervous there, but it worked itself out. Sometimes it takes a second to kind of filter through the system. But when we talked about that Kinesis data stream, this is what we're actually seeing. So this is sort of a sanitized and made readable, made usable version of that. But this is what the actual data looks like when it's coming in. So we see all these messages, and we just have to filter out these messages, and we have to filter out and figure out what it is that's coming in. And so you can see here, this is what a transcribe message is going to look like. We turn this into something useful. So we're going to go through, and you can see the 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 transcription as it comes in, and you can see the manipulation as this is happening. That is all generated out of here. So not too bad, right? We're able to get these messages, and we're able to kind of sanitize them because it's coming in sort of this easy to consume method, easy to consume format of this Kinesis data stream. We're able to do things like uh, partials or a concept within transcribe where we're going to send you that information before we know the complete sentence, and you can use that in order to, I don't know if you noticed, the sentence was changing as the conversation went along because we got more information. And so we figured out that this is Jessica, how can I, and next one is how can I help you. So we're going to put these chunks in as they arrive for us. So we've added transcription into this voice connector. You've seen all the steps that it's taken. This is really pretty straightforward and simple to do. It's pretty exciting to have something that is kind of this easy to work with. So now that we've got transcription, we're going to add on to this. So now we want to go into this, and we want to enable voice analytics. So the voice analytics, this is the tonal-based sentiment that we were talking about before, where we're going to listen to the tone of my voice. I'm going to try to say bad words in a positive way. It's hard to do. I'm not very good at it, but we'll give that a try. So we're going to go in here into our configuration, into our call analytics workshop. And this time we're going to add in that voice analytics. So we can go in here to edit. We can add in voice analytics. We can add in voice tone analysis. And we'll go to next. We're not going to change anything with the transcribe. We're going to keep that the same. We are going to add in that lambda. So this is, um, let's see. This is what we talked about before, where we need to kind of perform a couple extra steps in order to use voice analytics. This is part of that step. So we're going to now use this lambda in order to do that. Now, I do want to create a new role here with those extra permissions. So we're going to add in a new service role and update that configuration. This time we're going to give it an extra second before we give that a try. Any other questions, Mark, Zip? And sorry to not introduce, but Mark and Zip are Amazon Chime SDK SAs. So they are specialists that can help you out with any of these questions and issues that you might be having.
Yeah, no, there are a couple of questions that are being answered, but nothing specific to what you're going over right now. So
Okay. If there's anything interesting, shout it out so I can we can pause and answer that question. We're totally willing to be interactive and back and forth here. So
I think people are blown away at how great this workshop is.
I mean, it is a really pretty great. I'm blown away at how easy it is to configure some of these things. So that helps. All right, this time we're gonna try and talk a little bit longer and try to use some inflections, try to use some tone in my voice, and we'll see that graphed out on here. Well, it's the same kind of concept, right? We're passing information down into that Kinesis data stream. We're consuming it on this web page. Yeah, I was trying to get some tonal sentiment analysis done on my voice. So that's great. So I'm going to be talking, and I'm going to be trying to change the fluctuation of my voice. Hopefully we get the sentiment analysis to show up. I haven't seen it yet. I'm really hoping that it shows up though, because that would be really nice, and we are not getting sentiment analysis. We should definitely have gotten that by now. Let's give this another try. All right, let's give that another second. A lot of information passing through here. So you see a lot of these messages come through. Let me just double check and make sure I got everything on there. Voice analytics, okay. Looks like we got our Lambda. Hopefully this takes. All right, let's clear out. Yeah, I was really hoping to get sentiment analysis on this call. So last time we tried it and it didn't work, and I was pretty upset about that because I really want to show sentiment over time. It looks like we have sentiment over time now. So you can see these lines coming in here. They're separated by customer and agent. You can see that if I start sounding bad and I'm not very happy about something, we can try to get that customer sentiment to go down, down, down. It is a rolling average, so it's going to be looking at the last 30 seconds, so it takes a little bit of time to get started on that. But if I start sounding happy and I'm glad that things are going well, I'm really, really excited about seeing the sentiment over time. You can start to see that sentiment over time going up, 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 which we really like to see. And there we go. So as I said, this is going sentiment over time, and what we're doing is we're pulling this in and we're grabbing 5-second chunks of it. So it's quick to deliver to the Kinesis data stream. So we can see that it's going to be a rolling average. So we're going to look at this 30 seconds of data, and we're going to analyze that. You can see that the agent wasn't saying a lot, so we don't have a lot of data for them. But you can see the nice curve that we have here for that. So that's what it takes to add sentiment analysis to the call. So we have a little bit of work to do on this side to add the analytics, and after that, kind of just takes care of itself. We're going to provide all that information in that stream. So now that we've got that, final piece, let's add recording to this. So let's go into here, activate call recording. So we're just updating the same configuration that we've been using. We're going to make this a WAV file, and we're going to search for our bucket. So this is a bucket that was created with that CloudFormation, so we know that it's there, it's ready to go. This is the using Amazon Chime SDK call analytics recording bucket, and we're going to choose that. So I've set this to wave. You can use OGG as well, but I've got it set up for some of the other parts to use wave, so we're going to use that. And we're not going to change anything here. We still want voice analytics. We still want transcribe to be done on this call. We still want to send this out to Kinesis data streams. We still want to use the voice analytics. We do want to create a new role here, again, just to get those permissions all set up. And we're going to do transcribe, voice, and recording. Oh, that might be too long. Yep. And this time, I think I learned my lesson. We're gonna wait longer this time. Just fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, well, you don't get fooled again, right? So we do see in the call analytics, we have activate call recording, we have a bucket, and I think there's probably some files in there already. We can take a look at what those look like. One interesting thing to note here is the fact that we're delivering WAV files and JSON files. So we're going to be delivering the call metadata of this call as well. So when the call comes in, we're able to capture all of that metadata. So think about when you set up a SIP-rec and you're using SIP-rec, you don't want to just send, kind of bare bones information. You want to send information about who this agent is, who the person talking is, and who the caller is, and all this information to keep track of it through your system. We can take all that information that you send up in that SIP-rec invite in the XML metadata is what it's called. We can use that XML metadata to populate in to the rest of the data lake pieces. So we're able to consume that information that you send to us and use that so that you can use that to correlate, use that to build those dashboards. All right, we're gonna try this again, and this time it's gonna work the first time. We're gonna get a recording. Okay, we're just testing out all three now. So we've enabled transcribe. Hey, transcribe is working. That's great. We've also enabled sentiment analysis. Great, that's working. So we're going for the trifecta, What we'd really like to do is get the recording. Now, this recording is going to take a few minutes, a few seconds really, after the call finishes in order to be available, but that's okay because we don't need this recording right this second. We can wait a few seconds. All right, so did we get it? So right now, hopefully in the background, we did. So we're in the background, we were pulling all that information about that call into an S3 bucket. And now we have a little link right here in order to see that. And you can see the WAV file that was created as part of that. So this is what it takes in order to enable transcribe, sentiment analysis, and recording on an existing contact center. So we did this in 20 minutes. You can do this too. So this is a little bit of a build, but like I say, yes, you have to build, but also you get to build. That's the fun part here, is getting to build a lot of this stuff. So what is next? So we've got this all set up. I'm going to go out and probably clear out some of these calls, get a little nicer of a look. Got a lot of things running in this account. Gets a little confusing sometimes. But so what we're going to see now, let me pull back up, stop sharing here for a second and get back into my slides because we're going to look at some use cases now. So we've seen how easy it is to build. Now let's actually put this information to use. Let's add some Gen AI to this. So this is where we take and we show you how you can get these services and put them into your existing contact center. And now let's add some Gen AI into this in order to kind of really solve a problem. So one of the things that we're going to show here, and again, like I said, I like to think of recording as sort of a foundational piece to getting started with this. And this is where we get into you know why you want to start with recording, and because it's easy and fast, right? You don't have to build a lot of other things. We can just start taking those recordings. And now once we've got those recordings, we can do something with it. So in this case, what we're going to show is with this recording, we're taking the call in from the SIP rack, from the PSTN, and we're gonna send that into a bucket. So now we've got that recording into a bucket. We saw how to do that in the workshop. What we're going to do is we're going to apply sort of basic building, AWS style building on top of this. We're going to use a Lambda. So if you're not familiar with Lambda, what a Lambda is basically just a little piece of code that you can run um, sometimes, right? So it's not running all the time. In fact, it has a 15-minute timeout on it. But what we can do is when a file arrives into this bucket, we can say, let's start to transcribe it. So we're going to use Amazon Transcribe. And when this call arrives, when the WAV file lands in the bucket, we're going to invoke Amazon Transcribe. Now, what we'd seen before was Amazon Transcribe streaming. So what we're going to see now is Amazon Transcribe batch. And the difference here is we don't need this to be fast, right? We don't really need this to be an immediate result. We can wait, which gives us a little better results. So we can use this in order to kind of make sure that we get the correct summarization, or to get the correct transcription of this. Not sure if there's any other major differences between the transcribe and batch. That's typically what I use it for, is in situations like this where I have time, right? I don't need this done right now. We're going to take that output. So we're going to send it to transcribe. We're going to get the results back from transcribe. We're going to, again, just throw it in a bucket because that's what we do. It's really easy to get the results and throw them into a bucket. And it's really easy to do things when things arrive in a bucket. That's sort of the beauty of how these services work together, is when I get an object in a bucket, I can do something. I'm going to do that with a Lambda again. So in this particular case, we're doing that summarization using a SageMaker endpoint. This is by no means the only way that you could do this. Bedrock is definitely another option. We're just using this kind of as a getting started, so it's easy to use and easy to get started with. But by all means, the endpoint that you're using to query this is very flexible. That's, again, because we're using this Lambda, we've got a lot of options to us. We're using a Cohere model in this example. Cohere is one of the options available in Bedrock as well, but we're going to use a Cohere model in order to pass this information. So we make the recording, we transcribe the recording, and we pass that transcription over to a SageMaker endpoint, which is going to use Cohere in order to get that output. So why do you need to do this? Well, we can process this call and we can get sort of a human understandable output of what is going on in this call. Now, you could also take this and ask it more questions. So in addition to saying, what happened on this call, you can say, what is the customer is the customer calling about fraud, right? And you can sort of start working through and making additional queries into this based on just looking at the output of the summary for the beginning. Then you can start and take this up a notch and say, let's get a summary of the summaries. So now I'm going to take all the summaries and I'm going to kind of bundle them together and say, this is what happened in my call center today. What's going on? What do I need to be prepared for tomorrow? So I can say, hey, we had a large number of fraud cases today. Let's double check and make sure that all the agents know how to handle fraud, are up to speed on things like that. So you can use this to sort of enhance your contact center with this Gen AI. So let's take a look at what that looks like. 1 second while I switch over. Again, really simple little demos, really simple little web pages. We're going to call into this post-call summarizer and hopefully see what that looks like.
John, how can I help you today?
Yeah, I had bought a copier the other day and I started using it to make copies and everything was going great. I absolutely love this copier. It's working fantastic. However, I just got an error message on the copier and I don't know what to do with it. I was hoping you could help me with this error message. The error message says no paper and I don't know what to do with this error message. It says load paper and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. Is there something you could do to help me fix this load paper error message? Thanks. So fun little call. We're going to do that a couple times. So you can see the call comes in and we're just kind of, this is a little AppSync powered page. So we're going to be getting the recordings and the transcribing. You can see that it is slow. Like this is not intended to be quick. So we're still processing the recordings. We're waiting to get that back. Once we get that recording, we're going to start transcribing it, which hopefully happens here. There we go. So now we're transcribing it. So you can see what's going on in the background, right? We don't need this transcription. We don't need the summarization super quickly, but we do need it eventually. And now we're summarizing. So you can see as this call goes through that we started with the call is being made. Now we're recording it, now we're transcribing it, and now it's finally summarized. So let's see what it thinks I had. So this is the transcription. So this is a pretty accurate transcription of what it was that I said, I hope. The customer is calling about an error message on their copier that says no paper. The next steps would be try to determine what the customer is supposed to do with this error message. So not too bad for a 30-second recording, right? That's the thing. We can try, and we're getting um, a little dangerous here, but let's see. When did the customer purchase the copier? Let's see how we're doing here. If that's going to work or not. I might have gotten too greedy. I think I got too greedy on that one. There wasn't enough data in there to really get that, but we do have the recording. So this recording is available here, and we're able to do this. So this is sort of the first example of how you can use recording. Again, you could do this on existing files, right? There's nothing to stop you from taking months of these files, running them through something like this in order to get the summarization of the last 3 months of things that you had. That, and again, not to belabor the point, but if you had started recording 3 months ago, you'd have those recordings and you'd be able to do this on those old ones. So getting to that recording, getting to that first step through is a great first place to get started on here, because then you're going to have that information. So let's get back and see. What if the transcript output for a call exceeds the maximum records? Great question. the question is, what if the transcript output for a call exceeds the maximum number of tokens allowed for the context? Yeah, that's a big deal with these LLMs, and that's kind of part of the process. So typically, what we'll do in a situation like that is we will we will break that up into different chunks, and we'll summarize the first chunk, based on the number of tokens that we can use. We'll summarize the second chunk, and then we'll create a summary of the summaries at that point. But again, hopefully we can get to some bigger token sizes. I think we've seen some of the numbers coming in at, like, you could pretty reasonably summarize an hour of a call based on the tokens that would be generated in an hour, and then the tokens that are supported by the LLM. But yeah, great question. That is definitely something to think about. The other one to think about is, this prompt engineering, right? So what are you asking the LLM to do? That's super important as well. The better your questions, the better your answers are going to be. So be sure to think about that piece of it when you're designing these. All right. So that was a post call. Again, you could do that on calls that were made a month ago, 3 months ago, 10 minutes ago. You can use that there. What we're going to look at now is sort of a real-time, near real-time summarization of this. So why would you need this? Well, I think of this as, a good use case for this would be helping an agent with wrap-up time. So the agent wrap-up time is, big part of an agent's talk time and, work time. And if we can cut that down by helping them, well, that sounds like a great way to improve productivity and make their lives easier, right? Which is really important as well to help them out with that. But the key here is that we need to get the summarization to them very quickly. A summarization that comes in even a minute or two after the call ended is not nearly as useful as a summarization that comes in, 10 seconds after a call ended. So we're going to build this slightly differently. So before, we were kind of taking our time, we were going through different steps, putting it into S3, putting it into transcribe and things like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the Kinesis data stream. So now we're going to use the real-time transcribe, the streaming transcribe, and we're going to store that information in this table. So we're, rather than, kind of going through after the fact and figuring out what was said, we're going to capture everything that was said as it was being said, store it in a table. When this call ends, we're going to go in and we're going to suck all that information out of that table, and we're going to take that and throw that to our SageMaker endpoint. And again, same story as before. Doesn't need to be SageMaker. It doesn't need to be Cohere. We've got lots of options there. We're just using this in this model here because it's kind of easy to work with. And then we output that in a similar way to either the agent, presumably so that they can, modify, update, just get them to to have that the refreshed memory of what was said. Maybe they forgot something that was talked about at the very beginning. So we'll be able to present that to them very, very quickly. All right, let's flip back over. Here is our near real-time summarizer. So again, same idea. We're going to call into this number. We're going to try to get it to summarize this call. This time we're going to try and get it to summarize the call very quickly. I'm going to say similar things. Maybe I'll talk for a little bit longer to give it more data. It's one of the things with some of these demos is 30 seconds is not a lot of data for a summarizer to work with, and they kind of get confused. Again, sort of the reality of what we're dealing with here is, like, sometimes these LLMs are a little weird, but we'll give this a try here. Yeah, I was calling about my copier. I had purchased my copier from you last week, and it's been great. I love making copies with it. I'm making color copies, making black and white copies. It's been wonderful. I'm running it a lot. So I'm running a lot of copies through this every day, and I'm getting an error message on my copier now, and it says no paper. And I don't know what to do with that error message. So it's kind of a confusing message because it says no paper, but I like paper, and so I want to keep making copies with this, but I'm getting this error message that says no paper. And I was hoping that you could help me with this error message. So let's see if we can do it. If we can get that summarization to come through quickly. I was hoping to see that. There we go. So this is how fast we can create a summarization of that call, 10, 15 seconds after the call is completed. And it doesn't change too much based on the length of the call because we're able to put all that in Dynamo. It's not really having to go through um, a lot of extra steps after that. So, you know, again, same concepts before where we do have to worry about tokens, we have to worry about things like that, the length of the call. We could do this multiple times within the call, right? So every 10 minutes we could kick this off, every 5 minutes we could kick this off and produce a summary for the agent to remind them, hey, for the last 5 minutes, this is what's been you've been talking about. Um, and produce that for them. There's kind of no reason we couldn't do something like that. So that is what I had for that. Do we have any questions about either of those demos and sort of that use case of why do you want to add AIML to your existing contact center? Flip back to so let me get you these links. So all of this stuff that we've shown you today is available. It's out there. It's public. Please use it. Give it a try, and see if you can get this to work, and see if you can have any problems, questions with this using it. These are hopefully fairly straightforward and usable, deployable demos. The workshop, like Sib said, I really like this workshop. It was a lot of fun to make, and it's kind of a lot of fun to use. You should be able to deploy this into your account pretty quickly and easily, and get this up and running. Maybe not quite as fast as me. I've been through this a couple dozen times already, but it's pretty straightforward to use. Then we have the recorder, the post call demo. So this is out on GitHub, where a lot of my stuff ends up is GitHub. It's out in the public. You can use it. You can try it out. And this is a CDK deploy, so a little more complicated. It does require some things like as Chris had mentioned earlier, the foundation models and the jumpstart within SageMaker because we're using that Cohere model. Eventually, we'll probably get this migrated over to Bedrock when we have that available to us for this. And yeah, you can give this a try. Same thing with the near real time uh, sample. They both use the same model. So if you use one, you can use the other one, and they're kind of easy to work together like that. So you can see the difference between a summary of a call that was near real time and a summary of a call that was kind of after the fact. Hit me up if you need anything or have any questions about this. You got a lot of kind of couple ways to contact me. GitHub is another one that you can find me out there on GitHub. I'm in a lot of those repos, and yeah, we can help you
Or
out with anything.
there was a question about, excuse me, the time for summarization. It
Mhm.
says typically agents spend 2 to 3 minutes after a call to summarize the call. And is it possible to summarize a 15-minute call in under 15 seconds? I don't know if you had seen that question or if you had
Yeah, I
addressed it.
didn't see that one, but yeah, that's a good question. I can't promise that, but like typically, yeah, like these LLMs, this is going to depend on the SageMaker endpoint, right? A kind of a beefier SageMaker endpoint is gonna work a little bit faster. Different models have different speeds, right? Sometimes maybe an older model or a different model will produce different results, and that's sort of like part of the art of working with this Gen AI is finding that right model. So Cohere might not be the right model for you, but a different model might work better. And frankly, some of these models might work better for summarization versus classification. So that's another thing that we've heard is people looking for classification of these. That's a different model than a summarizer, right? So summarizer, you're kind of asking it questions. With a classifier, you're saying, I want to know, I have these 100 calls. Which of these 100 calls were calling about fraud? Which of these 100 calls were calling about cancellation? And so those are different models. And you're going to, again, back to the idea of use the right tool for the job. You want to use the right model for that job. So I can't promise you that you would get a summarization within 15 seconds of a 15-minute call, but it's certainly not outside of the realm of possible for some of these things. You know, it's the models can be quick, and they can be slow. So it's a matter of finding that right model for that. But the way that this has been built, and I'll show you that again real quick here. It's built to do that quickly. That's the sort of the goal here is in the post call, we're definitely not concerned about speed. That's just not how it's built. In this case, we are built for speed. So because we're using that Kinesis data stream to dump that information into the table, this is a Dynamo table, um, we're able to pull that information off of that Dynamo table super quickly because it's kind of already right there. We don't have to process anything. We're just pulling information off of that Dynamo table. So it's intended to be quick. It's that's how it was built, which is different from the post call one.